Yo, what's going on, guys? I don't know, man. Football's back. Football is back, and the Detroit Lions, man, they pulled an upset 21-20. They looking good. They gonna have yeah, the Lions, they're looking good, man. Mahomes and the Chiefs are gonna be dangerous as well, but they need to get that dude some help. Especially if Travis Kelce's gonna be injured, or maybe he'll be out for a week or two, or maybe a month. You don't really want to rush a hyperextended knee. But yeah, man, they're gonna need to give Mahomes some wide receivers because Sky Moore, look, I can't tell if he's a DB or a wide receiver. As for Kadarius Toney, that boy doo-doo. And the other tight end, Gray, is pretty good. But unless Travis Kelce comes back next week, Mahomes is going to have a hard time finding good receivers to throw it to. But the NFL still got to go through Mahomes and the Chiefs. They still look to be the best team because they simply got the best coaching staff and they got the best quarterback in the NFL. As for the Lions, welcome to Detroit. Yeah, man, Dan Campbell and his squad, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, on St. Brown, bro, they and that defense. Oh yeah, man, that Detroit looking dangerous. It's gonna be fun keeping tabs on them and seeing their journey this year in 2023 going into 2024. Look, man, obviously this is boxing, but hopefully you guys are having a good night. I'm just gonna be here for like 30 minutes. It ain't gonna be really long. I just wanna just talk about a fight that kind of piqued my interest. I think it's a very good fight between Richardson Hitchens versus Chon Cepeda. When I look at Richardson Hitchens, I've only known him of two fights. And the last fight that I saw was against John Bauza. And from what I heard is that they might have been sparring partners at one point for certain training camps. And Richardson Hitchens looked pretty good, man. He looked strong. He had a stiff, fast jab. He had a nice right hand follow right behind it, and he had a nice little uppercut. And honestly, he reminded me of Jamal Charlo at 154, especially the Jamal that I saw against Julian J. Rock Williams in terms of just how they throw their punches, all in a straight line with a lot of speed and power and good timing. That was Richardson Hitchens. John Bauza, I've never even seen him fight. To be honest with you, I don't even know who he's ever beaten. But he looked to be tough. But I didn't really like his hand placement in terms of like to be receiving shots. He didn't really have a good posture, especially keeping his hands low to block any punches. So it kind of made it look very easy for Richardson just to tee off on him and just throw straight punches. And by the time John tried to, slip or block and cover, Hitchinson was, just penetrating through that guard. He's fast, man. But when I look at his resume, I do wonder and suspect, is this one of those fights where Eddie Hearn, puts his prospects up against a tough veteran, right? Because if we know one thing about Matchroom, I don't know who's their matchmaker, if it's Robert Diaz now or in the ones in the past. I feel like they always put their prospects in tough fights a little too early when you should have given them a little more experience, a little more tune-ups, right? Like look at Montana Love, right? Yeah, he fought an Australian dude and he was getting frustrated. He got knocked down and he basically pushed him outside of the ring where he did a semi-front flip and now did out of the ring and they disqualified him, right? But, that was a mismatch for Montana Love. The other guy looked really good, Steve Sparks. Same thing in this situation. I look at Richardson Hitchens as a very good prospect with the potential to be. But I'm just like, bro, Chon Cepeda just gave Regis Prograis a really good fight. Now, he got stopped and knocked out, or it was a TKO in the 11th, but it was competitive. So I'm wondering to myself, is this one of those situations where Matchrooms kind of expose their prospects and get them beat? We saw what happened with the diva Gary Coley, and he got beat by like Jose Felix Jr. or something like that. And this happens a lot and quite common with a lot of Matchroom fighters. And to further this point is when I look and I go on matchroomboxing.com and I look at their stable of fighters, right? They have a big stable. They have guys like Austin Ammo Williams. You know, you got the Bam Bam Rodriguez's of the world. You got Brock Jarvis's, Andy Cruz, the Cuban, right? I think they just signed Jai Opataya. They have a good, nice little stable, right? Dimitri Bivol, Joe Cordina. But when I look at their young prospects, all right, I guess like under 30 or hell, even under 25 or around that range, there's only a handful of them, right? And like Cordina, I look at Richardson Hitchens and maybe Edgar Berlanga, right? And everybody else, I'm like, man, bro, I don't know what the face of Matchroom boxing looks like post like Anthony Joshua. Like, who's going to carry that stable? Who's going to carry Matchroom and Eddie Hearn? I mean, they're always going to put on shows because they got the platform, they got the investors, they got the zone, they got a formula, and they got Eddie, who's very ambitious, who's very young. He brings that young man energy. But when I look at that stable, I'm like, where is Israel Madrimov? Right? I think he's from like Uzbekistan or maybe Russia. And I'm like, bro, I need to see more of him. Same thing with Jack Catterall. Like, bro, these guys need to be fighting 3-4 times a year, not once a year or twice a year. Like, this is not enough. Anyway, like especially Joe Cordina. I need to see that dude fight at least 2 more times by the end of this year. I mean, he had a very good fight versus was it Rakimov? And then the year before that, he had a great fight with that Japanese fighter, and he knocked him out in a round or 2. But when I look at Richardson Hitchens, he might get beat by Jones Cepeda. Look, man, Jones Cepeda, he's got 40 fights to Richardson's 14 or 16 bouts. And in terms of the disparity of competition and experience, let's just say Cepeda has like 400 rounds of boxing under his belt, let alone how many championship rounds he's been in, to Richardson's like situation of being a prospect. This is a very good fight, and I believe it happens like in 2 weeks or so, like on the 16th or on the 15th or maybe even the 23rd of this month. It's a really good fight, man, and I think Richardson Hitchens might get beat. Larry Liston says, some big news. Ryan Garcia is fighting O'Hara Davis for the vacant 140 belt. Rolly is stepping aside with his hand injury and will be the champion in recess. That's why Oscar signed O'Hara Davis. Winner of that fight will fight Rolly Romero. I mean, I knew that was like where boxing was headed, at least for that WBA belt. But is this official? Because I haven't heard it. Where'd you hear this from, Larry? Because that felt like it was the next practical move, especially since Rolly never really sent out that I don't know if he ever sent out the doctor's signature and the X-rays of his hand being injured. So I'm pretty sure. But yeah, can you answer that question, Larry? Where'd you hear that? Was it like on Boxing Scene? Lying ass. What are you talking about, man? I didn't send it. Let's see. I'm gonna try to send that invite again. Warp speed. All right, man. Let me see. Go here. Fucking all late. Always interrupting my shit. Anybody else draft Travis Kelce in the first round of their fantasy football team? I sure as hell did, and yeah, it didn't really go out, so it didn't go well. It's like one of those situations where you're gonna let a football team who don't even know you exist control your emotions for the next 4 months. That's gonna be me for the next 4 months. Just a team that I go for that don't know I exist. Gonna ruin my mood after every Sunday. Either I'm in a high and feeling hella good, ready to conquer the world on Monday, or I'm just gonna get my ass beat and I'm just like, man, let this shit be over with and try to rebound. Oscar mentioned it, and he's been floating around it as a rumor. I'm pretty sure it happens. Think about it. It makes a lot of sense. There is no money in Rolly versus O'Hara Davis, so instead they're getting Ryan. Oscar said Ryan will be fighting for a belt and that Rolly can't defend his belt, but they are still looking at their options. Yeah, so it does make sense why Rolly wouldn't want to fight O'Hara Davis, but I don't know why Ryan Garcia would take that fight to fight O'Hara Davis. Just because Ryan's a relatively big name and he just coming off a 1.2 pay-per-view buys, right? Which is an amazing number. He did get knocked out. And a lot of people are going to be like, so it for Ryan, it's essentially in a lose-lose situation because if he gets beat by O'Hara Davis, which is a strong possibility, because I think I've only seen O'Hara Davis lose once or twice, and one was against Josh Taylor. And he did okay for Josh Taylor for like 3 rounds until like Josh put the pressure on him and eventually made him bend the knee and, he just didn't want to get knocked out. So I don't know why Ryan would want to take that fight. It would only make sense for Ryan to go after, like, let's say Teofimo Lopez, who's the ring lineal coming off beating Josh Taylor. And if I'm not mistaken, Ryan wanted to fight Teofimo if he's victorious. I think he said like pending the outcome of that fight. So I don't know where Ryan is in terms of the O'Hara Davis because it doesn't make sense. For instance, if O'Hara beats Ryan, that doesn't do good business for Oscar either. Like, O'Hara's not going to be a star overnight. He could be a star in the UK or, get more credible and be reputable back home. But, like, I still don't know if Rolly will take that fight. Or you mentioned Rolly will step aside and be a champion in recess. I don't know why Rolly would be like, you know what? I'd rather just fight Ryan instead. So those two things, it does mention, I know that Oscar's been floating it as a rumor and, signing O'Hara Davis, that's a great move for him, but it just doesn't really make any sense. Liston says, O'Hara previously tweeted this, Rolly, Ryan Garcia, Kenneth Smith Jr., anybody, it doesn't matter because now I have focus. And he responded to several things mentioning him and Ryan. Yeah, man, look, I'm hoping that fight does happen, O'Hara versus Ryan. It's, I guess now an in-house fight for Oscar De La Hoya. And it is a good fight because it pleases O'Hara Davis because he wants a shot at the title, whether it's Ryan or Rolly. And it pleases Ryan because Ryan wants to become a champion. Now, if I'm Oscar De La Hoya, I'm trying to make Ryan versus Teofimo Lopez, mainly because it benefits Ryan to become a champion by fighting Teo. It's also a pay-per-view fight. And also, if I'm Oscar, I want to cash out Ryan as much as I can because I'm going to lose him. I'm going to lose him sooner. And look, man, I'm just trying to get that, 8%, 10% promoter's fee off Ryan. And that's only going to happen with big-ass fights. So that's why I'm looking for the bigger, like, marquee fights with him. Yo, what's going on? Speed my check. What you got?
Richardson Hitchens.
Yes, sir.
Richardson Hitchens. I've been watching this kid for a few fights now. When even before Edward Hearn signed him, and then after he signed him, and in the promos that he's been making for him to hype him up, and especially this last fight with Bausa. Who, if I'm not mistaken, Bausa has been in the same circles with fighters the likes of Shakur Stevens and all those East Coast accomplished amateur fighters. And I think he may have even had some sparring sessions or some experience fighting Richardson Hitchens, because Richardson Hitchens, if I'm not mistaken, he's from New York. And he made that boy look silly, completely outclassed. And Bausa, if I'm not mistaken, was undefeated. I don't even think he had an opportunity to really start building a name up when all of a sudden Richardson Hitchens, with 15 fights in, goes over there and outclasses this guy who's just slightly his elder. Now, I think John Cepeda's in trouble. And it's hard for me to really say that, right? Because John Cepeda has, what was he? I think he's only lost to Regis Progress, if I'm not mistaken.
He times, and it's once to Regis, which was definitive. Then he lost to Ramirez, which was controversial because it could have been a draw.
Ramirez.
And I think he might have lost early in his career, but I know that I don't really know besides those two fighters that I just mentioned. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and so okay, yeah, but so those are champions, right? So it doesn't make sense. It's actually quite illogical to think that a fighter with 16 fights under his belt
Oh, and he
would
also lost to Terry Flanagan. I don't know if you
Flanagan.
remember Terry Flanagan, but he's a guy from the UK, and I think he's a
Uh,
southpaw as well. And I think I only remember him fighting like I think Terry Flanagan also fought Regis Prograis and maybe Maurice Hooker, bro. You remember him?
Maurice Hooker, yeah, yeah, Maurice Hooker. I love Maurice Hooker.
No,
Whatever
no,
happened to that
no,
guy?
no, I'm talking about Terry Flanagan. Kind of like a little slick southpaw.
I mean, the name sounds like it resonates with me. Just not the face. That's very common with me to remember some things, but not everything. And sometimes it'll be the face, and never is. It's really never going to be the face, but it's always going to be a part of the name. Perhaps the nickname, but no, I can't picture him at the moment. So he's got a few losses. I
I
guess maybe.
remember he boxes a lot like Billy Joe Saunders. If I'm not mistaken.
Mm,
Terry Flanagan. He was pretty good. Like he was nice on his feet. He had good movement. I don't really remember how his punch selection was. I mean, he's not by any stretch of the imagination of Manny Pacquiao in terms of like offensively driven and got that pop. But I thought he was pretty good and slick. But those are the three fighters that Cepeda has lost to. And again, I don't really think he lost to Jose Ramirez. I mean, I think it was a majority decision, but
mm,
I thought that fight was a draw. Jose, I don't know. Ever since he left Freddie Roach, he's looked very sloppy,
mm.
and I just don't really like the dedication or the discipline he's been receiving with Robert Garcia. He just doesn't attack the body enough. Doesn't use a jab enough. I don't know, man. Sometimes it's like he shouldn't have left Freddie Roach, man. That's just the way I look at it. But, keep on going with Richardson Hitchens.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that Richardson Hitchens, he's being moved very quickly. He's like, I mean, you don't at 16 fights in your professional career, where Bausa might be your most uh, renowned name, and that's just basically the last fight that he took. Um, to fight a fighter who's only lost two champions, who's lost to two unified champions in Flanagan, which I don't recall uh, who that is, and I'm sure I didn't watch that fight. It is quite a feat, right? It's quite a feat. Now we do know that Matchroom does tend to move their fighters a little faster through their professional career than most other organizations, unless it's, let's say, I don't know, somebody like Top Rank, right? uh but otherwise, you can expect that that Richardson Hitchens is going to be pit against his toughest opposition. In fact, tougher opposition than anybody else right now is willing to take on, because regardless, John Cepeda is a very good fighter. Right, he's very skilled. He's got good names under his belt. Maybe he's come up short on them, but he still has a lot of experience. He's young and fresh, and he's got just a lot of different things working for him. Um, but 16-0 fighter going up against a person with that caliber of experience and skill set, that demonstrates that Edward Hearn and Matchroom is really gonna ride and die with this young fella. And I think the reason for that is because, like how Larry Hitchens just mentions right here. Larry, he mentions that Hitchens has been sparring with Tank Shakur and a lot of the young black American fighters. Yep, I agree. I've heard those same things before. He's been in a lot of good sparring, absolutely. And he does think that he outboxes the pants off Cepeda. I think similarly that he will be able to outbox him. I do not think that he'll be able to perhaps stop Cepeda, because of the other thing that Mr. Larry Liston mentions, which is that he's a very fundamentally sound fighter, um, but that is apparently in his eyes hard to watch. Um, I don't think he's hard to watch. Now, I love the unrestrained violence, right? I do. I if you could put if you could put a mongoose and king cobra to fight each other, I would love to watch that. Just as long as it is violent. Um, and I don't want to discredit the more technical fighters that there are out there. I do appreciate the art of boxing, like how they say. One of those guys that appreciates the quote unquote sweet science, like if fighting is not part of it. But last outing, and maybe this just has something to do with the fact that Bowser was the perfect candidate for it. But the last outing, Richardson Hitchens was right there in the guy's face in the pocket, just making slight movements and just making sure that the other guy missed, and he would just counter him and just exploit the missteps that Bowser was making, those miscalculations, and he was just capitalizing on them. I think he looked good. I really liked how he came forward.
I also want to add this is that Zepeda isn't a very action entertaining fighter either. Like when I saw him against Jose Ramirez, I saw a guy that was being boxing, circling, and really disengaged from the fight. Right now, even in the Regis Prograis fight, it wasn't that all that action packed either. Now when Zepeda, I think a lot of people started becoming Zepeda fans is when he beat that Puerto Rican and knocked him out. Right, like in the first or the second round. Do you remember that Puerto Rican's name?
Was that in Mexico?
Nah, his name was Josue Vargas.
Oh yeah, and yeah, okay.
That's
the guy with the beard, right? The guy
yeah.
with some funny stuff going on in his personal life.
Correct, and that's when, like, I'm not gonna lie, the times that I've seen Jose Zepeda, I've been very unimpressed by him. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he is like the worst,
Jose Zepeda,
Josue Freddie Roach fighter. He's the worst Freddie Roach fighter I've ever seen. Because every Freddie Roach fighter I've ever seen, like Zenny or Lenny Zapovinga, the guy that went IPF with Cholo Salcedo, when he had Jose Ramirez, Pacquiao. When I think about Freddie Roach, you just think about an onslaught, a guy that throws a bunch of punches, 1,000 punches for the whole fight, and it comes to fight and bring it. When I see Zepeda, I'm like, bro, you're like a defensive fighter that Freddie Roach. I'm not saying Zepeda isn't good or doesn't have skills. I'm just saying that we're gonna say that Richardson Hitchens is like fundamentally sound and he don't really engage. I'm like, oh, where have you guys seen Zepeda be so action packed? Because when I've ever seen him, he's hella boring. He was born against Ramirez. He looked like shit against Henry Hammering Hank Lundy. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I think they both fought at a gym, like a high school gym, and that was mad boring. Like, you're gonna go to sleep. Unless I'm confusing if it was Hank Lundy versus Victor Postol, and that fight was extremely boring too. And even with Jose Pedraza, he didn't look that good, bro. The only fight that I've actually thoroughly enjoyed was Zepeda was when he knocked out Josue Vargas, and I think that only lasted like a round or two. And that was Josue Vargas was like being very disrespectful, snatching like the Mexican flag, and a lot of people like he was talking that greasy shit. And then his face was just like, if you look at some of those images, it looked like what Bud did to Spence. And a lot of people became fans of Chon. But I mean, I'm gonna ask you a question: when Chon fought on Marv Nation pay-per-view versus Regis Prograis, did you buy it? No. You know why? He a boring fighter.
No. I don't think I purchased it though. Yeah, I don't. No, I didn't watch it. In fact,
none of us purchased it. There was only probably 10,000 people in the world that purchased it.
Well, I mean, Marv Nation is a up and coming venture, and I think you had to go through Fight app, so it was like you couldn't just watch it at a venue. Like perhaps if maybe Marv Nation purchased the right to host it at a venue, and then sold those rights to the Zone or somebody like that to broadcast it. It wasn't that facile. It wasn't that easy. It was like Marv Nation. You had to go through Fight app or something to that extent, and then it was just a bit confusing. I would have purchased it because it was a good, intriguing fight, but I just didn't because of how uh, Bison how it was so hard for me to just get it. Most of the time when you order anything, it's made easy for you. In this case, you really had to jump through one or two extra hoops when you're like, oh, okay, well, come on now, you want me to buy it or not? But
But I thought you
nonetheless,
were
yeah,
tech savvy though. I thought you were tech
huh?
savvy.
I'm tech savvy. Didn't we just suffer that big old blooper yesterday? What are you talking about? Anyways, I think Richardson Hitchens, especially if you're gonna put him up against a technical fighter, who John Cepeda can be a more mobile, reactive fighter. Yeah, then I think definitely Richardson Hitchens is gonna put in the goods. Look, when you think Matchroom, right? You sometimes make these assumptions that they either a trust in their fighter so much and that's why they move him like that, or b that maybe they don't know how to build up stars, right? Because if you wanted to build up stars, you might invest a little more into building up a couple of fights,
No, no,
building
you
up
took
fights
the
under the
Tank
name.
Davis route.
Excuse me.
You build your fighters like Tank Davis. So for instance, if you wanted to build Richardson Hitchens, you wouldn't be fighting Cepeda. You would be fighting, let's go with who's a good up and comer that has, like you would fight him like Ryan Garcia, and then you would have a 135 pounder or even a popular 130 pounder, and moving up to fight Richard Hitchens like Tank Santa Cruz. You find popular fighters that have a fan base, and then you feed him, and especially if they're undefeated, and you feed him to Hitchinson. So you, for instance, like John Bauza, that's a credible opponent because he's undefeated. Ain't nobody know of him. He's not necessarily a big, great puncher. So you find those type of fighters with that caliber, with that backing, and then you keep feeding Hitchinson, and you're like, then you popularize him by like associating him with like a rap, like a rap song or a rap artist, and then boom, you start developing that fan base.
Yeah,
Um,
there's different ways to to build a fighter, especially to build build a good name, but I think in this guy they see some talent. They think he's good for it. And I think a lot of the things that are going on with Matchroom, right? Really, I think it has a lot to do with their the way that they're trying to now use their money more productively, right? Historically, they've had the backing of Blavatsky, or what it was, this the Russian billionaire. Um, and when the company was coming up, of course, it's business that's little by little you have to waste money to make money. So it started to pick up little by little, and there was always some financial backing by this Russian billionaire. But those were the good old days when Eddie Hearn could just throw money everywhere and be like, okay, here you go, boom, 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 let's make it happen, because what we want is to bring what we want for our name to be in everybody's mouth. Now that the name is in everybody's mouth, now they're trying to manage their money a little better. So, you're going to start seeing a couple of fights not get paid so much, and secondly, they're going to throw people to the sharks, right, in the deep waters, because they want to
Well,
see if it goes or not.
that. When you talked about the Matchroom in his golden days when they were throwing money around, well, which fights do you remember that they threw so much money around that there were fantastic fights that even to this day that they're amazing? Like for instance, when I look at Matchroom, I feel like this year is their best year when it comes down to, like you said, paying fighters what they're worth, what they actually sell, what they actually generate. You see what I'm saying? When I look at Joe Cordina versus Rockimov, they didn't have to, pull the bank and pick on these fighters and pay them in excess like they did with Jose Ramirez, bringing them over to fight, Mighty Mo Hooker. Like, what fights are you talking about?
Yeah,
That
we're talking about fights like Jose Ramirez taking on Mauricio
Yo, bro, I'm not too sure if it's on my end or you.
Matchroom or Matchroom trying to. What I'm trying to say is that they were paying top dollar for fights, like you said, that weren't necessarily big or grand or memorable. So in other words, they were throwing money uh, to make something out there. Not necessarily that they were these incredible fights that were worth the money, but that's the reason why those fighters. That was the heyday of the zone and their high expenditures. Right, every fighter would have been smart to take them at that moment. Like remember, they were offering. Uh, Adam Kavnaki 7.2 million just to fight Anthony Joshua. It's those days when they were just willing to spend that kind of money for fights that weren't worth it to get their name out. That's what I'm trying to say. Not necessarily that they spent big money and made a lot of good out of it. I'm not saying that. I'm actually saying the opposite. They were throwing a lot of good money after probably not the best ventures out there. That's not the case now. Now they're being a little more thriftier, more shrewd with their money, which is okay. But they're I think they're also moving a lot of their fighters in this like sink or swim kind of way where if you make it. It's because you're meant to be good, and we'll make you a star, and we'll put you up against bigger, better fighters and will pay you more. But if you fail, I think they're trying to really cut a lot of their talent out. If you don't swim, you're you're done. That's why they're no longer trying to build up all these fights and keep these fighters along for a long ride because they're circling people around. They don't care. I think they're just trying to make big fights instead of really big investment in fighters necessarily. You see. Yeah. So who hopped in here? Oh my
Yeah, no,
goodness.
I understand. I understand what Eddie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're good, bro.
Yeah,
Yo. Can
Yo, 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 yo.
I
can
understand what
you
Eddie Hearn
you,
had to
you
do in the situation, but like for instance, like when he overpaid and gave Mikey Garcia a shit ton of money to fight
There
David.
you go, Mikey Garcia.
No,
Not Ramirez. Mikey.
no, well, he paid a lot of money for both those fighters to have them showcase on the zone. I felt like the zone took a big ass L. Those aren't big names.
Yeah.
Those aren't.
Yep.
They're not gonna generate viewership on that stuff. So I felt like, in fact, those years, what you call the golden years or the glory years for Matchroom, I felt was like, bro, no, you guys actually are overpaying for something you guys don't understand quite yet, and that was the American market. Now, to your point, they did try to shoot for like the Charlos. They were trying to get Errol Spence and have them fight over there. Those are the fighters that you take, and that sometimes they were negotiating with Tank Davis in certain situations, right? But those weren't. That was actually the trial and error years for Matchroom. Now I feel like they understand their niche, their cachet, and what they're able to offer to the sport of boxing, and that's essentially the extreme diehards. And then also they found, whether you like it or not, they found a fan base to bring in with that whole misfit boxing. So when
Yep.
I look at the zone in 2023 versus 2021 or 2020 when they first started to establish themselves here in the States, I looked at them. They're very ambitious, and I know who they're trying to get at and go for. But when I look at them, that was then. And when I look at them now, I'm just kind of like, okay, they realize they're not going to be able to poach those fighters from PBC. So let me just find something else where I can build upon. And eventually that was Jake Paul, KSI, all those misfit boxers, chess players, Fuzzy Tube. And they're like, these are going to bring in the viewers, and we're going to use those fans to maybe, bring in or reel 5,000 of those into building stock into Richardson Hitchens. You know what I mean? So then slowly by surely, those extreme fighters that they have that are pretty talented, like Jai Opataya, like Richardson Hitchens, like Bam Bam, or Sonny Edwards and the like, they're able to maybe piggyback off the misfit fan base. But anyway, Drew, what's going on, bro? What do you know about Richardson Hitchens? What did you think about the Chiefs getting beat and upsetted by the Detroit Lions? Man, what's
crazy.
going on with you, bro? How you been? Where the
Good man.
been?
Good man. I've just been busy with everything, but yeah, man. I'm surprised you started this late, man. I was like, well, all right, let's do it.
Shit, you know how it is, bro. I had to watch the football game first, get the little itch of the NFL bug,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm gonna watch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research. I mean, I was looking at this dude's like, cause I'm big on the amateurs and shit like that. I like to see, you know, how this guy competed against the big names and stuff like that. And yeah, man, I guess this guy belongs with the elites, you know, but he has lost to only big names, you know, in the amateurs. Like Gary Antoine Russell lost 4 times in the amateurs against him. No, he actually no, I'm not sure what that means, but it says WO with the question mark. So I'm not sure if that's a win or not, but he definitely lost three times against Antoine Russell, who's actually in the same weight class
yeah,
as him. And Virgil Ortiz also he also lost to him. Abraham Nova, Jermaine Ortiz, Jerron Ennis, obviously 147, but you know, he's only lost to big names. I don't see big like tournaments that he's won. So he just did enough to actually, you know, become a name in the pros. And I see a
yeah.
good solid resume, but it looks like they're trying to build this guy up a little bit. I
I
know
think
this is a title shot, but I don't know, man. I don't see anything too flashy resume wise. You guys need to educate me on this guy's technique and everything, because looking resume wise, it doesn't look like he has a lot of power with only 7 knockouts. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the best way to describe him right now, obviously he's a prospect and he's an up and comer. But what I like about him is that he throws good straight punches. So he has a nice, hard, stiff, fast jab, right? That
mm,
might be his best punch, but he follows it up really good with a lead right. Like he's got a nice two, bro. And when he puts, I think that's his best punches. And do you remember that uppercut that Jamar Charlo hit J Rock Williams with? Like it
yep.
was a parry, he blocked the 1-2, and then he shot his six from the hip. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same thing with Richardson Hitchens. Like when I look at Hitchens, I see like a mini version of Jamal Charlo when Jamal was at 154.
Mm,
So like that stands. You know, I haven't seen him really use his mobility and like circle around. No, he stays relatively in the pocket with a little bit of pivots. Nothing too crazy, you know, because I'm not saying that he doesn't have that under his arsenal. I'm just saying that he hasn't necessarily fought somebody where he has to move like that, right?
mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure he has that in his backpack. But again, there hasn't been a fighter where he's like, oh man, this is amazing angles and he's putting a lot of pressure like Lomachenko.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's a sniper, where in the sense that like if you throw a lot of combinations, he's gonna catch a few and then punch it between. At least that's what I've
Mm,
seen from him. Now, mind you,
yeah.
again, he is a prospect, so he hasn't fought a lot of huge names. But
Mm-hmm.
I think Speed had heard of him, and I think the rest of the world heard of him because he at one point was signed by Floyd Mayweather. Is this correct, Speed?
If I'm not mistaken, that's absolutely right. He was signed by Floyd, uh, and he's, you know, he's young, but there was just you see, there's just some fighters that are gonna get the action from Floyd in his camp, right? And you know, there's people that for whatever reason or another just don't. I would have gone all in on Richardson Hitchens if I was Floyd, but I guess he went more all in with Rolly Romero. But that's just the genius of Money Mayweather. But yeah, no, he's very good. He's very good at using his jab and using little things like the long arm and his reflexes, and to keep you at his distance, his sweet spot. And when you try and come in, he's very good at moving back and just like keeping his distance away from you. He controls the real estate from mid range. Very good, but he is very much a pure boxer. But he's been coming up with this style. Now, I do understand that the last opponent that he faced, Bausa, was perfect for it, where he's just a little more in your face and a little more aggressive. And I think he was able to do that because Bausa was shorter than him. Um, but of course, that might just change if the dynamics it changed, right? Like for example, you put him up against somebody taller, but nonetheless, I think he's gonna do well. And the fight that he's up against with Sean Cepeda is definitely gonna be a very hard test for him. But but I think he's gonna fare very well. I think we're gonna see the best of him. It might be a boring fight because now that I think about it, Sean Cepeda is also the type of fighter that would put up a stinker. But if he's the type of guy that you rub him off the wrong way, like Josue Vargas, uh, you might just have a very short night at the fist of that man. But I think we'll see if, like, the question that the homie Ricky is posing is Richardson Hitchens the truth? Is he a real contender? And we're
Listen,
gonna see that next week, if I'm not mistaken. It's next week.
yeah,
Right.
we don't have to
Yeah.
stretch a big old conversation about Richardson Hitchens. I mean, he's a prospect, So that's all the time we're gonna give him. What you guys think about Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou? Have you guys seen how Tyson Fury came in on weight, or how's he looking? You guys excited for that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a good fight. I just want to see two big dudes going at it. I want to see how what's his name? Fury takes his punch, if he can even land it. I just want to see one round.
You know
Maybe
what the
two
fuck?
rounds. and then I'll get sick of it, and then I'll just be like, okay, I know the winner. And I just want to see it. I just want you can tell who's gonna win the first 30 seconds of a fight, especially like a fight like this where one guy's pretty much a novice, going in, and you got like pretty much a master going in, but the two dynamics may have an issue. He may not be able to take his punch. And
Well, what do you guys know about Francis Ngannou?
Francis Ngannou is like the hardest puncher in the UFC, bro. He's like, or he was, he was like the hardest puncher, bro. Like, he knocked out the hardest puncher. Like, there's this dude named Lewis. I forget his name. Big Country Lewis. He has like the most knockouts in the UFC history. And this dude knocked him out, like with these. He's just knocking everyone out with these. He's just reckless too. He's not even, when he was in the UFC, I'm talking about, like, he was just reckless. He was just swinging his hands like Street Fighter style. And he was just in really good shape. I mean, he knew some ground game, but I mean, yeah, Derek Lewis. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Derek Lewis. He had the most knockouts in UFC history, and he even knocked him out. So Ngannou is like one of, like, he's considered like the hardest puncher in UFC.
Got you, because I don't really know too much about Francis other than the Cain Velasquez fight. I only know Cain Velasquez because, like, he's not only was born in our area, but also, like, in local news, something happened with, remember, he was like some GTA shit where he was like chasing some people down that had like molested his daughter or something, and he was like gunning them down and boom, 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 popping off rounds.
Yeah, that was out here in San Jose.
Yeah, so I don't even know look, I don't really follow MMA, and I don't really look at it in certain things of that motion. But yeah, man, I just kind of wanted to see what you guys, like, tasting the win,
Well,
what you guys know about that fight and everything.
Well, I don't know much about Francis Ngannou, right? I just heard the same things that Drew just mentioned. One of the hardest punchers, accomplished MMA champion, whoop-de-woo, blah, blah, blah. We're talking boxing, right? And this man that's green, accomplished in another sport, but a man that's green to the sport of boxing, is coming on for obviously a cash grab for those interested in
It's not even on BoxRec.
well,
What the hell?
so it's basically a cash grab so that people can have something to do in a couple of months while they're barbecuing and having a couple of pictures of some stout. But the thing is this. The one thing that I kept, because I guess when they were weighing or talking at their conference or whatever, I just hopped on just to read a couple of the comments what people were saying. People were very concerned about the appearance of Luke Furry. They were absolutely concerned about his appearance in the sense that he was likely weighing 300 pounds, and people would say things like, is he even training? Is he taking himself serious? I'm thinking, listen, guys, he's fighting a guy who's not a boxer, and he's probably one of the most skillful fighters especially in heavyweight at the moment. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to train for Francis Ngannou. He can roll out of bed because Francis Ngannou, he's never fought a boxer. He's not going to be able to grapple you. He's not going to be able to topple you down and kick you and tap you out. He's not going to be able to do that. He's going to have to stand there and maneuver around your punches, right? And people were concerned about the girth of Tyson Fury's belly. Who cares? He's gonna play with this guy, and anybody who thinks it's a competitive fight or is concerned about Tyson Fury not exercising and taking this guy serious, I'm asking you, why are you taking it serious? This is just all for fun.
Wait, so Larry Liston says Fury was also 100% on cocaine. Well, that threw me off seeing double view. Sorry about that, Larry. Fury was also 100% on cocaine for that press conference, which I don't think is that big issue. But hey, it was noticeable. Fury always balloons up in weight till his camp starts. Yeah, insane. Yeah, I believe it. I believe he was on that stuff.
Well, I didn't see that. I just know that he was being extra. He was being extra friendly, right? He was being very chatty and everything like that. I didn't get to see the pupils of his eyes, or I didn't see him sniffing, with the little sniffles. I didn't see that. But then again, I wasn't paying much attention to that. I was just mostly, perusing through the YouTube streets. I saw that they were going live for this press conference, and I just decided to, to hop in and listen to him talk a little bit of that suave, smooth operator kind of a jive that somehow works with some of these press people. But I didn't. If I had seen him doing a little bit of the coke on it, I might have just asked him for a line or something.
Oh my god. I know you're that type of person, man. No,
come on. It used to be on our Coca-Colas at once.
Nah, I mean, yeah, he was definitely on it, bro. Like you could tell, his eyes were just dilated as hell, like they were just wide open, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you know, like people who don't know, it'll just go over their head and just be. People just think he's really energized, but him having that type of history, I mean, you can put the shoe on, and it fits.
Mr. Larry Listen understands exactly what I'm saying. He says he sees it like Floyd versus Mayweather. It's just entertainment at the end of the day, and it's all right. And I agree, it's all entertainment at the end of the day. So let me ask you, gentlemen, a question, and you too, Mr. Larry and Mr. Andres Martinez. We know this is all for frivolity. It's the just for entertainment purposes that we're seeing these two giants of two different sports face each other. Are you folks gonna pay to watch this? Because it turned out, because the one thing that I discovered is that the fight is taking place in Saudi Arabia. So that's very intriguing, if I'm not mistaken, because Saudi Arabia has been trying to get all of the best heavyweights to go off in this 4 or 5 way tournament to see who comes out on top. One of the things that was keeping the Queensbury side and Luke Fury away from those negotiations is that they never had the relationship with the Saudis, like let's say Edward Hearn and Matchroom in the Zone, right? And even Usyk, because now I think they even had Usyk fight. Well, yeah, they did with Anthony Joshua. So they have built that relationship. Now they're gonna be working with the Saudis over there for this this fight for the sake of entertainment.
Fight, right?
Yeah. I think it's taking place over there in Saudi Arabia. Are you gentlemen interested in paying for it? And secondly, do you think the fact that it's taking place in Saudi Arabia portends the possibility that one day Tyson Fury might take on somebody like Anthony Joshua or a Wilder or a Usyk over there for that tournament that has been discussed for many months now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Because for Fury to face Usyk, just because all the talk that that Eddie Hearn's saying about AJ's plans, so they kind of align with those plans, So I mean, they knew that event, like that they were trying to set AJ and Fury up. That's the fight that they're trying to set up. I know AJ Wilder is probably going to be up next, but once that's done, they're hoping AJ gets through Wilder. And if that happens, they're definitely aiming for that Fury fight after that. But yeah, no, the Saudis are really the reasons why that those fights are going to happen. So we got to thank the Saudis, because they're actually giving us those two fights. And as far you're talking about the Fury and Ngannou fight, the Fury and Ngannou fight, I'm not gonna
Pay for it.
yeah, I'm not gonna pay for it. I need to find out the
The undercard.
the undercard. Sorry about that. I went way off on that, but
No, you're okay. No,
yeah,
it makes sense because I sort of agree with you, right? Saudi Arabia could be the parties responsible for making uh, these dream matches that many of us fans have clamored for at the heavyweight division. I know that Anthony Joshua is good for the money. He'll fight for the money. I think Alexander Usyk to a lesser extent, but he also cares a lot about the money that he makes now because he's accomplished, right? He's done so much in the sport right now. They feel that they have done so much in the sport and that they do believe that they should be compensated handsomely for what they've done to entertain us and to line their careers with remarkable victories. But and of course we know Wilder has been in those circles of money making. So has Fury. I just think that Fury has been the person to hold out because once you cross over and start working with Eddie Hearn, um, you're working with that person who most of these companies have tried to bring down. In my case, I really do think a lot of these promoters are working together to try to, throw cogs in the wheels of Edward Hearn and his operations as a promoter in the world of boxing. I think he's a persona non grata. I don't think anybody wants to do business with them. And they probably kick themselves in the ass when they have to, right? Every time they take or poach a fighter from them, like they're having with Fabio Worley, I think is what his name is, a blue collar. He was an Edward Hearn co-promoted fighter until most recently, and somehow they were able to take him over there. I think through that new promoter Ben Shalom. I think maybe he stripped him or had something to do with that. Nonetheless, we also know that Eddie Hearn is willing to let his fighters take on fights at other promotions if he feels they could win. But I think there's a lot of commotion going on right now. I think the fact that Saudi Arabia is working with, Frank Warren and Queensbury and Tyson Fury, that means that they're trying to welcome into the fold and say, listen, I don't care. We've done work with Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua, and we love those guys, but we're here for the money. These are men. We want to build an enterprise of industry and entertainment in the middle of the desert. You can be a key player. We just want key players. We don't care who does it, as long as you guys work with us, because we're going to pay you well. And I think hopefully this works out for Fury, where he wants to take on these fights, except for one thing that I heard that I really didn't like, Drew. He said that if this is a good enough fight, he would consider fighting Francis Ngannou in an MMA match.
No, I mean
I
that would
don't
just
like it.
ruin everything. I mean, that doesn't make no sense. I still want Fury to fight. An actual boxer first of all, but like another champion. I want him to fight in unification bouts. I really want to see who's the man, in the heavyweight division. I don't want him to like. Who cares about this? Honestly, like it's really like the MMA community that cares about this. Uh, I feel like they're like, oh, you would never stand a chance. It's like with leg kicks. It's like obviously, bro. Obviously, he's not gonna last with leg kicks or when he gets taken down. Like, come on, bro. This is why we don't want to waste our time with you guys. Like we just want to see who the best boxer is. If Ngannou wants to be a player in the game and actually, wins, then good for him. But this ain't going to be no octagon fight. And if it is, then I'm not going to order it. Like I don't even care if shit. Honestly, maybe I'll care if they actually have like actual boxers in that undercard facing actual MMA fights just to see them mollywop them or something. But
Yeah.
but nah. And for the actual fight, the Ngannou fight and Fury fight, that undercard is gonna have like celebrities. I bet they're gonna have a bunch of YouTubers, and those fights, man, they're just too hard to watch, man. They're just sloppy, like nothing entertaining, and they're like the most expensive, pay per view.
Pay-per-views.
Yeah, and it's like, what am I watching? Like,
So you're not a big fan of the Misfits. You're not
do I get an NFT for this or something? Like, why do I have to pay so much?
NFT.
Yeah.
So you're not a fan of the Misfits.
What is that like the band? What do you mean?
No, the Misfits are the influencer fights, the YouTuber fights, the
Is that what they
KSIs.
call them?
Yeah, no, that's there's a promotion. It's
Is that
ran
an
by
LLC?
Cali Saladin,
Oh.
who's another big cokehead.
Well, I thought what's his name? Jacobs or no,
Jake Paul.
Jacobs, my bad. Jacob Paul or like Logan Jacob and yeah, Jake Paul was had MVP promotion.
Yeah, so MVP Promotions is his own company, right? He's more boxing. He's really more boxing. That's why.
I thought they were the ones that were promoting this fight.
Which fight?
Oh no, I'm tripping. No, I'm tripping. Yeah.
No,
You're
no,
right.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jake Paul is a legitimate promoter. He's about boxing, right? Maybe you don't think of him as a boxer. I do think of him as a boxer. I think of him as an amateur who never had an amateur career, and he's fighting semi-pro style. I mean, here's the thing. I don't, it's a very complex matter to discuss Jake Paul in just a few moments, because who knows when the homie Ricky wants to end their life, right? But I do respect Jake Paul, because again, I just go back
yeah.
to I just go back to why I am a fan of boxing. I'm here for the entertainment.
As
I'm
long
here
as
for the value of the fights and the violence.
yeah, I like him because he's trying to make the rematch of Serrano and Katie Taylor. Like he's gonna be a big contributor. Like he's gonna be a big reason why they fight again. And they like he promotes that fight, and like I want that fight to happen again. And if he makes those type of fights, I'm a fan of him.
Yeah.
If he keeps it up, yeah.
And he's bringing on a lot of fresh talent. In fact, I think it was yesterday or today. I was watching the show called The Boxing Voice. It's probably like I don't know what you would call it, like I don't know, the Breakfast Club for boxing, something like that. It's just Danny and Ness Gibbs, who talk boxing every day in the morning hours here in the Pacific. But nonetheless, they do boxing shows every day. And they were interviewing this fighter for MVP Promotions, a fighter, I think, from the island of Puerto Rico, or from that lineage, living in Florida, who's a heavyweight, fighting, having access to Luis Ortiz and all these other heavyweight fighters. And I think he was basically clowning on fighters such as Richard Torres, and those type of fighters, because he was saying, look, you're an Olympian and you're still fighting these dudes. I think the topic was even called "Buddy Fighting Nobody." Like, and I think it was like a direct shot against like Richard Torres and those kind of heavyweights that are trying to build a name, but they're still taking, in his eyes, you know, softer touches. And he is one of Jake Paul's fighters. And he looked very, very good. Like, they were showing a couple of images, and I went back and I researched a little bit more, and I started watching a few obscure videos here and there. Nonetheless, Jake Paul's taking himself serious. But most valuable promotions is Jake Paul Boxing, but the Misfits is ran by Kelly Starlin, who's a very famous cokehead from no, seriously, like, you'll see him grinding his teeth and his eyes are big and he's sweating, and his interviews are incredibly funny. The veins on his neck are bulging. It's incredible. It's almost like a WWE wrestler. But anyways, he puts on the Misfits fights, and those are the guys like like the people that are gamers, KSI, his brother, Deji, all those types of fighters. The Mexican Pineda, that 6 foot tall something, fighting all these little short guys. He's the guy who's putting 4 tag team fights. He puts 2 men fighting against 2 men, and when they get tired, they tag team each other. It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, but it's hilarious and it's entertaining. So whenever I want to have a good time without having to think about how complicated boxing is, I just watch the Misfits. Sometimes their pay-per-views are as low as $10. A lot of the time they're free, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the time they're just included in your DAZN package, and they're fun, bro. It's just that you just have to think of it like complete frivolity for the sake of entertainment and novelty and nothing more. That's it.
Yeah, now that you mentioned TBV, I'm gonna go back to when you're mentioning TBV. I was watching that this morning, and they actually had interviewed this heavyweight named Brandon Moore. I had mentioned that to you guys on the group chat a couple days back. He just signed with Top Rank, and this guy. There's a reason why I want these big dogs or the big guys to fight already, because there's a new wave of heavyweights coming in. And those guys are just gonna, create havoc. Like, age is gonna catch up. I know there's people like, there's a George Foreman's of the world that, came back at the age of 50. But man, these guys coming in hot, bro. Like, you got the Richard Torres, you got the Jared Andersons, but this guy Brandon Moore, he's calling those guys out. He wants those guys. He's pretty much. Did you watch that this morning? That interview?
Yeah. Hey, yo, guys.
Yeah.
You guys can keep carrying the live. I got family members at the house, so I'm just gonna chop it up with them. But just text me when y'all say that it's over. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, y'all do your thing.
All right, cool.
So yeah. So that's awesome. What was this heavyweight's name?
Brandon Moore. He's
Brandon Moore.
12-0. 12-0 right now, and I'm double checking right now because I have short-term memory. But this guy, with Brandon Moore, he has a stablemate also called Lorenzo Medina, and Lorenzo Medina, that dude Nestor Gibbs, he's really high on him. Like, he's just, by the way he's talking about him, he's like, dude, he has it. And what's it called? Brandon Moore happened to mention him, and he goes, "Oh, you're gonna fight him?" Or like,
that's who I'm referring to, Lorenzo Medina.
Yeah, he goes, "Oh, you wouldn't fight him?" He goes, "Nah, that's my that's my stablemate. Like, we spar a lot, and they sparred ever since he Lorenzo Medina started as an amateur. So they go back, and this guy's good, man. 12-0, 8 knockouts.
Lorenzo Medina, that's who they were interviewing. That's the guy who I was referring to.
Yeah, Lorenzo Medina. That guy has it, bro. So
that guy is with that guy fought on the undercard of Jake Paul's last event.
Yeah, yep.
And that's the guy who I'm referring to.
Yeah, that guy has it.
Yeah.
and he's calling out Jared Anderson and no, yeah, Jared Anderson and Richard Torres. So I want that to happen. It's pretty soon. Because Richard Torres he's not fighting bums. I mean, it's starting to step up a little bit, but
Mm.
but
Well, I think it's what is he? Is his third fight, fourth fight?
who's?
Richard Torres.
I think no, he has more than that.
Really?
Yeah, and the thing is, they just signed that dude that knocked or that beat him twice in the amateurs and knocked him out
Yeah.
once,
Yeah.
Jalalov, and it's crazy, because they're gonna build that thing up. They're gonna build that fight up, and who knows if they put him in there with him, man? Because uh, sometimes you just know the results, and you just want to make as a promotion, you just want to make the most money out of both of them. You don't really want to ruin their record, by putting them in there with each other, and yeah. So who knows that they got some dogs, dude, at Top Rank. So yeah, I was gonna say that dude, Brandon Moore, though. I'm trying to see who he beat, like right now, but Brandon Medina, he actually looked. He reminded me like of Andy Ruiz a little bit, just by the way he's shaped a little bit. Um, and he talks his smack, dude. He talks his smack while he's fighting, So he's a cocky little dude, bro. Lorenzo Medina.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that interview. Yeah, he's cocky. He's confident. He wants that smoke. He wants that smoke. And he has access to fighters like Luis Ortiz and all the other cats over there. He did mention that he hasn't sparred Luis Ortiz because I guess Luis Ortiz doesn't really spar. Like he just works out on form and technique and exercising, but he's 40 something. He's not gonna be fighting the young bucks. But yeah, that I'm gonna follow that guy's career. Richard Torres has a 6-0 record. I think it's 6-0 and with 6 knockouts. Jalalov has a 12 knockout. I think he actually just fought most recently, so maybe it's a 13-0 with 13 KOs. Yeah, Top
His
Rank is setting that fight up for a major fight one day.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, but that's the thing. He lost twice, and just looking at Jololov's style, I see why he keeps losing.
Yeah,
and his style was just tailor made for him for Richard Torres. Because he goes in and out, and he's really good at that. And he just has that right. It's that sharp right that he has. That's freaking powerful. And he's a beast, man. He's a gold medalist, I believe, right? Jololov.
Yeah, well, I think he beat Richard Torres for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Drew, did you watch the Golden Boy Thursday Night Fights episode tonight?
No, I watched yesterday's Pro Box fights though.
Yeah, they were good. They were always Pro Box. For our listeners, if they don't know, if you guys do not follow Pro Box, for our listeners, Larry Liston, I'm sure that he is. And I know he's subscribed to the Zone, and I know he probably watched tonight's fights. And of course, Andres Martinez. There is this app called Pro Box. It's only $2 a month for usually 2 events, starring prospects and have-beens that are getting a last shot against other have-beens to you just get some pay and get some good work in there and see if maybe they can rejuvenate the career. It's managed by Paul Malinaji, Juan Manuel Marquez, Roy. There's Tarver and another legend.
Roy Jones Jr. No.
Yeah, and I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, Jerry, I seen Jerry as a commentator.
Yeah, and it may be a Puerto Rican champion. Nonetheless, there's like 4 guys, maybe 5 that hooked up to basically to set up this venture called Pro Box. On Wednesdays, usually twice a month, they have these events. and they've never disappointed, never disappointed.
Mhm.
So you watch those, and tonight the Zone had one of the few sparsely seen episodes of Golden Boy Thursday Night Fights, and they had
Yeah.
the Mexican Olympian. Uh,
Yeah.
what's his name? I keep forgetting his first name, but his last name is Curiel. I think they call him Cougar because they mentioned that his last name is Curiel Garcia. So they put the Cur and the Gar from Curiel and Garcia, and they just put it together. His name is Cougar or something like that. Pretty
Hmm.
creative,
Creative.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he had this fight with this New Yorker.
Mm.
His name was Pennington. He had like a girl's name. I can't remember, like Chelsea or something like that. Like
Yeah. Aubrey.
you
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
Aubrey. I think it started with a C, but it was like mostly a name like that's usually attributed to lady like Abigail, but
Adrian.
nonetheless,
No, I'm just kidding. Adrian's
Adrian.
a female name too.
Yeah, so something like that, right? But so I started off slow for the Mexican former Olympian, um, and the New Yorker was capitalizing on the inactivity of the other guy because apparently Curiel in the past, like throughout the pandemic, he really had sustained injuries uh, and inactivity, and he used to have this hype because he fought like on one of Canelo's undercards once. So he had this hype, and all of a sudden his career was just placed at a standstill. So he did look rusty. And this kid who he fought tonight,
Mhm.
he had some good work. Now I
Pennington
had
kid.
to.
Yeah.
His name was there. You go, Courtney Pennington, a
Yeah.
17-6 fighter with 3 draws against a 13-0 fighter with 11 KOs.
Mm.
So in paper, it should have been like a quick work for the guy, right?
Yeah.
But but I guess he wasn't having enough fights, and
Mm.
Pennington just started doing some good work. Nonetheless, I turned off the TV, the app for a couple of errands, and when I came back, it looked like the tide was turning in favor of the Mexican former Olympian, right?
Mm.
Well, there was 8 seconds, man, 8 seconds
Damn.
left in the fight, a 10 rounder, and I don't think there was any knockdowns,
Mm.
and all of a sudden, Curiel hits Pennington with just any other punch, right? And then from that punch, Curiel steps back, and the other guy steps back, and then the ref goes in their way. 8 seconds left, and he stops the fight.
Mm. Yeah.
The, they
Yeah.
just screwed that guy over, man.
Damn. What fight was this again?
It
Courtney
was
Pennington fight.
yeah,
The one that just happened right now.
yeah. It just happened like an hour ago, hour maybe two.
Okay.
Raul Curiel versus Courtney
Mm.
Pennington, and there was 8 seconds left. Now I looked at the demeanor, I looked at the face of Pennington just to see if maybe he had sustained a lot of damage or what it was that the ref, when I wasn't watching the fight, what he saw to say, okay, that's it. And it wasn't like there was a volley of punches or anything, that the other guy wasn't being defending against or anything like that. It was just like of whimsy, the ref just decided to stop it, which screwed over Pennington, right? Because in the one sense, when I was watching the fight, it looked competitive enough. And if the whole fight was competitive enough, maybe it was going to be a draw, or maybe who knows? I got to watch the fight completely, but maybe Pennington was winning. And and if you stop him, you make sure that the Mexican guy gets the victory. He's the house fighter, of course. And third, he gets a TKO. And I just thought, like, man, this is so messed up, right? Like,
Mm.
I don't know. I just thought it was a bit frustrating to see these kind of things go on again.
Yeah, I'm looking at that dude, Raul Correa. He's
Yeah,
from Guadalajara.
Guadalajara,
Oh no, he's from Tampico.
Tampico,
Tampico, Tamaulipas or something like that. But yeah,
Tamaulipas.
yeah, with the 13, he's a 13 and 0, 11 knockouts. So yeah, he looks like he's heavy handed. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm looking at that card too, and I'm not really recognizing anyone on that undercard. I know the main events probably have happened already, but I don't see the results. But Leonardo Sanchez versus John Mark Alamene. Yeah, I never heard of those guys.
la verga.
Crazy. I was gonna say, yeah, but that the zone or Golden Boy just putting out random cards on it just like that.
Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, that's their shtick right now, trying to bring fights for Thursday. I mean, I'm still trying to see who picks up the tab for Friday night fights, right?
Mhm.
Pro Box has Wednesday night fights. Golden Boy periodically will have Thursday night fights. Nobody is doing Friday night fights, and there's this new company called Country Box. Country Box just had its sixth event, and their shtick is this: they play country music, of which I love. They play country music and have artists in between fights. Um, and they play this country music, and then they put up these fights, and then they play the country music again, and they're taking up the Tuesday night slot to get those fights, guys. I think they just barely signed a deal with a lot of these television broadcasters: Dish Network, DirecTV, Spectrum, whatever. They have a new place where they're gonna be showing the fights on Tuesdays. They're new. They're called Country Box. They're
Oh,
free. All you have to do is uh, visit Country Box, I guess countrybox.com, or Google it or whatever, and then you just put your name and email, and you get to watch them on one of their links. So you don't have to have a TV provider. They'll let you watch their fights. Just subscribe, right, for free. Now, if I'm not mistaken, ProBox allows you to watch the fights that I pay for, $2 on a monthly basis, on YouTube for free. So if you don't have $2, you could just subscribe to ProBox TV on YouTube and get those fights for free.
mhm.
So if you want to watch boxing every day of the week, you can do that, Drew. You can do that for the
Crazy.
most part.
I was
It's
just think
awesome.
I was just thinking who would want to go to an event on a Thursday. You know, I mean, that would be cool if it was like, 20 minutes away from here. I'd definitely be there, but
Yeah, I know.
most events are around our area is at least an hour away. On
An
and
hour.
on a Thursday, especially with traffic and all that. But yeah, that fight that happened right now and was in Indio, so down south in Fantasy Springs Casino. So I've actually passed by there. Actually went inside the casino. It's a super nice casino. Uh,
Really?
yeah, it's a really nice casino. I've been in there. Uh, like man, 10 years ago, I think. Like after high school. But yeah, it's a nice spot. Um, what's it called? I'm just thinking though. I'm like, man, how many tickets did they sell? Just curious, like how many tickets did they sell? Do they even like profit? Was it just kind of like just to be active with fights, and all that. It's just crazy how they just did that on a Thursday for us, which
Well,
they
they get
which I thank them for. But
Yeah. Well, they get paid by, well, the zone pays them something to broadcast, so they get
Mhm,
that little revenue. Secondly, they get some money from the beverages that they sell, because it is a casino. They're
mhm,
gonna, and the casino for the most part also has an incentive to have these types of entertainments go over there periodically, because
mhm,
let's say right, let's say that you're over there in the, I don't know what, Indio or Coachella or whatever, you know, those areas are just chock full of boxers and boxing fans. They're saying, "Well, Golden Boy, which is Oscar De La Hoya is coming over here to show us our fights, and they're $20 a pop to go in. Well, let's go." And they're just gonna go over there. They're cheap tickets. They sell you cheap beverages. They don't pay the fighters a lot. and they're getting revenue from the zone to broadcast and fill in those slots. So they're getting some money. They're not losing, Drew. They're just not becoming millionaires at the end of the night, or
Yeah.
maybe they are.
Yeah, I was like, is it feasible as a business? But
Well, have you
yeah.
ever gone to one of these local events here in Salinas, or any of the local gyms where you go and they're having fights and you pay $20 and you go in and you watch all these amateurs and they sell you food and beverages?
Yeah,
The reason they do that is because they're making money.
right. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't otherwise.
Yeah, think about it. They paid the commission, USA Boxing. They paid the paramedics to go there. They paid the judges.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they have to sell food.
Right.
They sometimes have to pay caterers. So all of that, they cover their bases, and then they still make more, because if they didn't, you know what? I wouldn't do it.
Right. Yeah, and they probably need to see the analytics as far as like how much they've, how many tickets they've sold and all that, just to gauge the interest, But
Hmm.
yeah,
So you're not gonna watch Luke Fury versus Francis Ngannou, huh?
you said, man, you keep saying Luke Fury.
That's his real name, Luke.
Is it
Luke Fury. Well, I'm sorry, it's not Fury. It's Fury.
Fury?
Luke
Yeah.
Fury. Luke Fury. But they nicknamed him Tyson, because he was like a big fan of Mike Tyson, and I guess his father, the big elder John Fury, was a boxing. He was a bare knuckle fighter, so
Well,
he wanted his son to be a fighter, and yeah, he sure enough became a boxer. So they stay with that Tyson name. But no, I think his real legitimate name is Luke. And
Yeah,
and you.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at his Wikipedia, and it says,
Well, it's not like they haven't seen me in boxers. You just
What?
put on some shorts.
I thought you were talking to us.
What?
Yeah, no, I thought you were talking
He
to us.
walking out naked with his schlanger hanging.
I know.
My bad,
He's all,
guys.
babe, stop it.
Put on your glasses, because here he goes.
Which house not Rod? You gotta go. My bad, guys. No, yes, I was gonna change it.
Oh man.
No, but I
What
was
the
looking,
fuck?
I was looking at
What's wrong with you guys?
Oh my goodness.
yeah, but
Oh,
his
guess what,
Wikipedia-
Drew?
Yeah, go ahead.
I sorry, I just found out there is somebody taking up the Friday night boxing slot, and it's dun 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 ESPN Plus tomorrow in Quebec, Canada, and Gatineau, to be exact. Christian Mbidi is gonna fight Demon Nicholson. Hey, Demon Nicholson, I think we were just talking about him.
Christian Mabili.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually put a bet on that. I have a parlay. I pretty much hit 2 out of the 3. I just need Mabili to go the distance, because I think Mabili is durable, and I think the other guy doesn't get into, he doesn't have a high knockout percentage, and especially who he's knocking out. It's not really, all that. So I think he goes a distance. I put a little bet on that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I know that fight because of that. But,
yeah, no, that's so yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, well, good luck to you, man.
Yeah, and also I seen Ricky showed us that parlay that you hit on with the Williams William God damn, what's his name? William Foster. There we go. William Foster.
Yeah, made a good money.
I actually put a little bet on him to actually go the distance, but he actually got hands, man. He reminds me of the God, what's his name? Diego Corrales a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, he reminds me of him. He reminds me of I was gonna say Winky, but no, it's a little different. But yeah, he reminds me of him a little bit. But yeah, I was kind of impressed with him. I had to do a little research on him because he was actually pretty good, and his opponent is pretty damn good as well. Like, he's pretty damn durable. maybe some better coaching would actually help his career because he has the tools and he punches hard. You know,
Mhm.
he has a strong hand, or like heavy hands. You know, but good
You know
good shit, Rick, on that
that pick.
parlay. Yeah, on that parlay.
You know what? I just remembered why I even what I wanted to roll with after I brought up the fact that that Golden Boy had fights tonight. So Oscar De La Hoya was present for tonight's event, and he started to mention. It's funny because it's almost like he's in his world is in disarray, or he's either very busy doing all these business moves that he sometimes forgets, what's out there. But apparently, um, next month Shane Mosley Jr. has a fight,
Oh,
uh,
really?
and he didn't know anything about it
What? How did you find out? How do you know about that?
because Oscar was they were interviewing Oscar,
Oh,
and Shane Mosley Jr. was the co-host with Beto Duran. I don't know if you guys know who Beto Duran, but he's one of the hardest working men in boxing, especially here in the state of California. If it's Golden Boy or some of the zone work in Matchroom, if they come over here to the states, Texas or whatever, Beto Duran will likely be doing um, the hosting. But he was co-hosting with Shane and Mosley Jr. And then there was that period when the girls started to interview Yocasta Valle, the champion who they were talking about, her fighting Siniesa Estrada, trying to make it happen next, and interviewing Oscar De La Hoya, who was standing next to her, and he mentioned that Shane Mosley Jr. is fighting, I believe, in the beginning of November. And then they asked Shane about it. He goes, "Whoa, that's the first time I heard about it." He's saying, "That's cool, right?" I was like, "All right." So Jocasta Valle, they're trying to set her up to for a unification, or maybe it's even undisputed with Siniesa Estrada. But this is the interesting thing. He said that besides Joe Smith fighting Zurdo Ramirez, I think next month or in a couple of weeks, really, he also mentioned the return of Virgil Ortiz Jr. for December.
oh wow. Well, we'll see how his body responds because I mean, we can say all that, but I mean, maybe he just has a hard time making weight. Maybe he has a some kind of disease, that he's not like checking on, or I know he went to the hospital and all that, but he needs to get like blood tests and all that to see if there's actually like anything wrong with him because there's this disease called Lyme disease, and it'll come around, you know, like whenever it wants to, so it can be something like that.
What, you
Maybe
think he has Lyme disease?
he has something, man. He has something because I don't know everything, but it just I don't know when you're like losing your when you're getting malnourished and all that. Like it can be anything though. I
Hmm.
could be like it was just kind of a throw of the dart. Just I'm just throwing the dart at the wall. Because there's definitely something wrong with him, and him going to 154. I mean, like it doesn't mean that he's better off at 154. Like, but he's just probably gonna end up like maybe he's not even supposed to be boxing at all.
Yeah.
Maybe it's actually against his health to even be working out. And like or at least getting punched in the face in sparring. Because yeah, he's heavy handed. And maybe it's not helping it. Whatever he has, or if he has anything.
Well,
That's why he's
well,
just such a liability is the thing, and I feel
yeah.
so bad for people like with Stanionis because that dude, I listened to an interview, and that dude's
Mhm.
he's not struggling, but you can tell, or he's like in debt, with other people because he's trying to make ends
Oh,
meet, and he's like, he almost has to like quit boxing a little bit to actually focus on work at home and all that because he's not
yeah.
being paid enough out here.
Yeah,
So
I've heard the same thing.
yeah, it just sucks, Like that's why it's like, nah, that dude's such a liability. Like that Stanionis put so much trust in that dude. It's like, slap, it's not a slap in the face, but it's like, man, go get your blood work done or something, man. Go see what's wrong with you, because you're passing out like that, and you have to get resuscitated. It's not a good thing, man. You have to like get treated for it at least. You know, maybe it's treatable, and you come back, and you could have. Maybe it's something that you could have treated and came back to 147. You know,
Mhm.
and or maybe even 140 if anything. Maybe he can get fixed like that or whatever it is. So
Well, it's
so important. He's a
the
liability, though.
the name of the condition that they've called it is rhabdomyolysis.
Mm.
Rhabdomyolysis. When that topic was in vogue, and because it was obviously a major deal when the week of the fight, just maybe a few days out, Virgil Ortiz, you know, it decides to skip the fight because of this health scare. And everybody was talking about it. I'm just doing a quick Google search, and it says that it's a breakdown of muscle tissue that releases a damaging protein into the blood. This
Mm.
muscle tissue breakdown results in the release of a protein, myoglobin, into the blood. Myoglobin can damage the kidneys, is what it says, right? So the kidneys taking damage, your muscle tissue breaking down. That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Uh, Releasing a damaging protein into the blood, the
Hmm.
lifeline. Everything is just being intoxicated.
Sounds pretty
Um,
permanent.
Look, requires medical attention. Symptoms include dark, reddish urine. Goodness, if I saw anything red in my urine, I think I would vomit, right? I think I'd be like, oh God. And secondly, I I think I would probably
I
like
wouldn't, but
I would scare. I don't know if I would tell
that would
anybody.
have helped. That would have helped though while you're pissing and have your throwing up. It's like, bro,
Yeah, make you
like, come
lose
on, you're
weight,
not
huh?
helping the situation. Like,
Oh man, yeah, no, but it would help in making weight, right? You're urinating and vomiting at the same time.
yeah, I know. Like, what the hell, man? Like, stop it. Make him stop. Make him stop.
Yeah, no, that sounds very scary, man. Poor guy. But no, so the thing is, the first thing I started to think is, okay, um, where is he fighting? Is he, like you said, we just immediately assumed it's at 154 because some people said the reason why his muscles breaking down is because he's doing things like dehydrating himself, working too much without proper hydration, nutrition, and rest, and that's likely contributing to that muscle tissue because there's nothing really to keep it supple enough, and that's why it's tearing, or he's just being put too much to the grinder without any time to restore and to revitalize. So if
Mhm.
that's really what's going on, we would naturally think it would be at 154. Uh,
Mhm.
but what if that condition is so bad that 154 is still not healthy enough for him? What
He's
if it
such
has to be like 160?
he's such a liability that he needs to like fight on a undercard non-pay-per-view against the stepping like against some dude that wants to make a quick check that has a part-time job. you know because he's such a liability. He doesn't deserve to fight anyone. He doesn't deserve to fight anyone that boxes full-time. He deserves to fight someone that actually has a job so they can go back to, just in case he doesn't fall through, or I mean just in case he falls through, or like doesn't make it. So
Well, look, it would have by the time that that fight comes about, because he said December, he didn't elaborate on the date, but it would be a year and 4 months. I mean, wow, I don't know. And
a year and
so,
4 months since Stanionis has gone paid. Think about that.
sheesh, I know. Or, well, also Virgil Ortiz, you
Yeah.
know, none of them got paid. So, I mean, both of them are actually victims of circumstance. But I wouldn't want to pursue that route of thinking, because then we're going to start thinking that perhaps Virgil Ortiz and his uh, lack of proper health is contributing
Mhm.
or is responsible for the financial hardships of somebody like Stanionis, even though consequentially it is. but these things happen. Imagine these guys are the guys that at least have had an opportunity to fight on television for some money. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of fighters that will never see a buck in the sport, So
Yeah,
yeah, I feel bad for everybody, but I think Stanionis will rebound in the next fight. I
yeah.
hope.
He deserves like a title shot or some kind of shot. Like he deserves it. Like he deserves to get unification bouts or something, man. Because he's besides the fact that he got screwed over, he's also like a top dog in the division. You know, he deserves. He's up there with the Ennis's and the. He already beat Butaev. So I mean, he showed his worth there. You know, yeah, it just sucks though because he's not going to show his worth against a hard hitting puncher like Virgil Ortiz. I actually had him winning because of that jab that he has, and man, just sucks, man. And yeah, there's a lot of people he can face right now. He hasn't fought anyone over a year, so he needs to get a tune-up fight at least. A good tune-up fight because he deserves to get paid a good amount. But wait, didn't he get step aside money? He got step aside money, no?
Uh,
During the year, I believe.
yeah. So I guess they were paying Stanionis step aside money so that he wouldn't have to face I guess what uh Terence Crawford,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
so that
think.
they could negotiate the Spence fight.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that's who Terence Crawford's opponents were. I think it was
Because I thought it
wait
was Alexis Rocha that actually turned down the Crawford fight, so he can actually negotiate with Spence. But yeah, I think I'm talking before he even.
uh,
I think it was before that when before the Virgil situation happened that I'm talking about. But yeah, never mind. Now that I remember, he actually hasn't even fought in over a year because of his because of health issues. You know,
yeah.
so he did get step aside money, but way before that fact. But
Yeah,
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 man.
yeah. Somebody got step aside money. I think he got stepped aside twice because
Mhm.
Stanionis was due to fight. Maybe it was Spence or Crawford, one of them, just
Mhm.
like Boots Ennis was, right? But they
Mhm.
just never demanded the fight. Like I guess Boots Ennis did not demand the fight with uh, with Terence Crawford. So it's yeah. He's had a bad few years actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, Stanionis, good kid. I
yeah, I
like him.
know. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Like, man, he actually speaks good English. Really good English. I heard him in an interview. I was like, oh shit, he knows his English. And it's pretty, clear and stuff like that. But yeah, man, he's what's his record? Stanionis' record. I'm looking at it right now. Hold on a second. Shoot, how do you even spell Stanionis?
Stanionis. Stanionis. Yeah, I think it's straight up and down.
Yeah,
Stanionis.
it's pretty much how
What's
you
his first
pronounce it.
name?
Uh, Man, good question. Emantius.
Emantius. That's right, Emantius. That's a
Mhm.
powerful name.
Yeah, so 14.
Emantius.
Yeah, I like that name actually. Reminds me of my
Emantius.
cousin's name, Imani.
Really?
Yeah, my cousin's name is Imani.
Oh, those are cool
Really
names.
unique name, you know.
Yeah, Imani.
Uh,
Sta Emantius.
mhm.
Wow, that's
So he's
cool.
from Lithuania, Lithuania. And 14-0, 9 knockouts, 5'8". So he's pretty much average human size. Just like me. Um, but yeah, this guy Luis
Really? I thought
Felipe.
you were like a 6'7" giant.
Nah, sometimes I'll shrink down though. No, I'm shrink.
Look at this. After having fought Emantis Stanionis, Rabsa Butayev has not had a fight since then. That's
Damn.
been a whole year and
And I actually like Butaev too. Butaev is actually a solid player in the 147 division.
A year and 6 months to the date, buddy. He doesn't even have a fight scheduled.
Hey, he's the zone, right? Matchroom, I mean. Is he Matchroom?
Rabsab Butev?
Yeah, Butayev.
I don't think so.
No,
No, I think he's PBC.
are you sure?
No, no, no. I'm not sure, but no, it's PBC.
Yeah, you're
Yep,
right.
I'm looking at the PBC Premier Boxing Champions. Radzab Butayev is a very strong, fearless fighter. It's trainer Joel Diaz as Butayev, nicknamed the Panther.
I want to see him against Cody Crawley. That'll be a good one right there. But Cody Crawley is moving up. That would be giving Butayev a favor. Maybe Stanionis versus Crawley in the future. That'll be a good one.
Man, what is the PBC doing with these fighters, man? They're just letting them rest there on the shelf, like destroying careers.
Just hogging up all the money for all the big names, for Canelo and all them,
I mean, you know that Oshaki Foster is fighting Eduardo Hernandez in Mexico, right?
Well, I know. They sent them all the way out there.
Yeah, so that's the very first thing people have been saying. Like, I went back with some guy. His original comment was, "Why does the champion have to go to Mexico?"
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, because Matchroom won the purse bid.
Well, that's the thing too. He Oshaki, he doesn't have.
He's not. He's a free agent, right?
Yeah, he's a free agent, so he doesn't have no backup. So he's doing everything on his own, like his own businessman. So
like Devin Haney.
Yeah, like Devin Haney. But that's the sacrifices that you have to do. Devin Haney had to go to Australia. I mean, this isn't in comparison competitive wise, but I'm just saying, like, he has to go out there and and bite the bullet. And to bring up his name, because Oshaki Foster, I like him. He's a name. He's a name in the division. He
beat Ray Vargas.
Yeah, he beat Ray Vargas. So I think he's solid, man. I like Oshaki. I wouldn't mind seeing Oshaki versus Navarrete. But yeah, Oshaki's definitely a player in the game.
Well, he's gonna have to go through that Mexican Eduardo Hernandez. It's funny because Eddie Hearn hired Eduardo Hernandez to fight Oshaki Foster in Mexico.
Wow.
And the first thing you have to think is, why not in the States, right? I mean, Oshaki Foster is a PBC or he fought a PBC fighter, and he beat him. And Ray Vargas, mostly, even though he's Mexican, he fights a lot here in the States, especially his bigger fights. So he fought here in the States against a Mexican, and he beat him, became the champion. Now he's gonna cross the border to fight in Mexico, and you have to think, okay, the purse bid went for like $400,000. You have to think Eddie Hearn cannot expect a lot of money over there in Mexico, even though Mexican fighters tend to be on the smaller side, and 126 is pretty small. So do you think maybe he decided to go over there because there might actually be more of a demand and thereby more money made in Mexico by having Mexicans attend a boxing event which can coronate one of their own into a champion? Or do you think he could have just kept it over here in the States and sold it for cheap and made more money selling beer?
No, good point. I think it benefits him selling out shows, because what I learned, how in BoxRec, how they rank these fighters, it's pretty much a popularity contest.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a popularity contest, and they get points for these events that they get, and these little popularity points add up. And pretty much Oshaki Foster doing this is keeping him busy. He's preserving his record. It's more of it's not too much of a risk than if you were to fight in the United States. Um, so he's trying to build that record up with the belt, and he's actually, instead of how can I say this? Instead of getting over his head and actually, you know, going for the big dogs, he's actually, trying to build, being a businessman now, and he's actually building himself, and he's trying to get better opportunities. Uh he's pretty much trying to make more income with this, and it's pretty much less risk, more and a reward. It's pretty much even on that. Um, and obviously, if he wants another belt, he's gonna have to up the risk, and lower the reward, And right now, he's just keeping it humble, and I think this guy isn't a slouch, but I think it'll be a dub for Oshaki.
Do you? So in one sense, it sounded like you were saying that 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 it looks good on television to have a stadium or a theater full of people attending. So you think that's what I thought you were saying. It sounded like you
Yeah.
were thinking. So
Yeah,
it's good for the. It's good for the what is it called, the
for the
visuals.
yeah, and also when you negotiate, they look at all this stuff too. They negotiate, they compare the numbers, and they say, hey, I put more butts on the table, or on this, I put more butts on seats than you. And if they, and that's how they can say, hey, this is 60, I'm gonna give you 40, I'm gonna give you 35. Oh, why you give me 35 when I put this many seats, or butts and seats? So Oshaki Foster is just trying to make himself more money, get the extra 5%, to show them that, hey, I'm a draw. And he's also for Oshaki Foster, it's also a like a promoting tour. He's just trying to get his name out there. I think it'll help build his name. Obviously, like Stefan Fulton, he actually built his name by fighting Inoue. They said, hey, Fulton is still a great champion, but Inoue is a legend, so we're gonna give Fulton, a shot. And I think Fulton's popularity actually went up. He's still the guy in his own division. Inoue's on his way out. He's going to unify the division, and he's going to leave. Fulton's still that guy in that division. So, it's for Oshaki, it's going to build his name up like that. This guy isn't a big name, but he's becoming he's actually fighting in Mexico before, I think. I might be wrong. Let me check right here. So his first fight. Okay, no, I'm wrong. Okay, yeah, no, it was here in the United States. So no, it's making him an international fighter. So maybe he builds his name, by taking these fights. I don't see his the fight on BoxRec yet. So
Wow, that's like that's pretty soon. That's like in
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see
What?
it on the BoxRec. So hopefully they post that pretty soon. But yeah, man.
Do you think Eddie Hearn is just trying to screw over Shaki Foster, take him to a place where obviously the home fighter is going to be not him because he's a champion, but the other guy who is obviously, like, for example, right? Eddie Hearn must be aware that a lot of the fighters that he's contracted for 2-3 fight deals, like Devin Haney and Saul Santos Alvarez, well, for the most part, almost a lot of the fighters, like even Regis Prograis has a 3-fight deal. That's quite the standard in the business, but they tend to leave after they do something, right? They accomplish something while he's managing them, and then they leave for greener pastures. Do you think that he is trying to screw over Oshaki Foster by taking him to a country where obviously the Mexican fighting style, come forward aggressor, is always gonna gain more of a consideration when it comes to the judging than, let's say, a more boxistic mover, uh, like Oshaki Foster, because well, you have to consider that maybe they're trying to screw Oshaki to take him for a belt, to get a Mexican contracted for pennies on the buck, because Mexicans will sign a contract for just like dollars.
Yeah, I know. I think Eddie Hearn is actually testing him. He's testing him. Obviously, he's not on his team promotionally. So he's obviously, in a sense, against him. All the time, he's always trying to find an opponent to beat him. That's his job, I believe. But yeah, it's pretty much him just testing the champ's will to go to another country and defend his belt. And I think Oshaki, his pedigree. That's the thing. I'm hearing he has like some of the best sparring. So whenever you're sparring world champions, you regular fights like this is gonna be easy. This isn't nothing in the magnitude of Devin defending his belts in Australia, but this right here will be kind of similar to that in a sense where Oshaki defends his belt, and he in a crowd that favors his opponent.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
so yeah, he's facing the same kind of challenges, but I think Oshaki's pedigree, man, he's a great boxer. He really impressed me. His last fight against Ray Vargas, I lost money on that fight. So whenever you make me lose money, I'm a fan of yours. Because I also want to make money from you too. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, that's hilarious, man.
But yeah, he's a good fighter. I like watching him fight.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, what the deal is with Eddie Hearn. Like, what plans does he have for Oshaki Foster? Seeing how he's a freelancer. He just knocked out Hector Garcia Montes on his last fight. He had Eduardo Hernandez. He beat Jorge Mata Cuellar 14-0. Prior to that, a 15-1 fighter by the name of Georgie Castaneda. He doesn't have a spectacular record. You see a lot of fighters, that are in this record, not upside down, but that they don't have a lot of undefeated.
He has two
Are y'all
losses
still
already.
talking, bro?
What?
Excuse me?
Are you guys still talking? It was two topics, man.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Who's
What are you guys
this?
talking about?
Who's this?
Yeah, who's this?
What are you guys talking about, man?
I'm talking about Oshaki Foster.
Uh,
About how they're trying to screw him over.
how so?
Well, hey, because the fight is taking place in Mexico. Oh yeah, like that's all it takes, right? Just take
Yeah.
them
That's
out
all
of
it
their
takes.
home and then they lose. Come
Well,
on
that's
now.
what they did with Steve Sparks and the Canelo undercard. Who beat that Mexican kid, and they gave it to that Mexican guy.
Oh yeah.
But is that true? He's fighting Eduardo Rocky Hernandez in Mexico as he's
Yeah.
a champion.
It's
Yep.
not even on BoxRec yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you even know about this?
The TVV hit.
And which
Well-
Mexican promoter
Well,
bought that
Eddie,
fight, bro?
Well, no. Matchroom bought the rights.
Oh,
Oh wait, a Mexican promoter?
no. I thought it was like who won the purse bid? Who fucking
Oh,
hosted the next?
Matchroom, 440 down.
Damn.
Yeah,
So-
Oshaki Foster, he lost to like nobodies. I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, what
You
the
fight
hell?
with nobody.
Nobody. Samuel Tea, who was 6-1, and Ronaldo Chinea, 12-1.
I feel that, man.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, man. He shocked me when he beat Ray Vargas. So I was like, bro, this guy, who is this guy? He fight with nobody.
Yeah, you missed it, homie Ricky. We talked about Or Shaki Foster going to Mexico to lose his belt because he's fighting in Mexico. Like that's all it takes. Like really, you just go to somewhere else and you
Everyone
lose.
speaks Spanish here. I'm so lost.
I know I'm lost. I'm dead. The tacos, the food is gonna be irresistible. I'm gonna get out of here, man.
Oh man, where does this man go?
But I think he said he wanted to crash out. He sent me a personal. He sent me a DM, bro. Oh, oh yeah, there he is. So we also talked about the big news of the day, Ricky. I'm not too sure if you heard this. But on tonight's fights, Oscar De La Hoya, the Golden Boy, he mentioned that in December, Virgil Ortiz Jr. is returning.
Nice. What weight class?
That was what we were trying to guess. We don't even see his next opponent. He didn't mention nothing. He didn't give a date. He just threw it out there, and he did the same thing for Shane Mosley Jr. He gave him an early November fight, and Shane Mosley was like, "What are you talking about?" It was just like Shane Mosley didn't know nothing. Yokasta Valle was like the only one that had like an idea that she was fighting. It was ridiculous.
Damn, man.
For
All
sure,
right, man.
man.
All right, I'm a crash out, man. It's getting pretty late for me, man.
Yeah, I was saying, man, I'm just gonna end the live, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Speed and Drew, you guys can talk forever, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Got me
Yeah, you
going
can
on
sleep
to-
forever.
Maybe next time we should do that, huh?
Yeah, maybe next time we should go early.
That little crazy right there, man. 11 p.m. and y'all still talking boxing. Nah, I feel it, bro. No,
Yeah,
this is some really good topics, man. Thank you guys for holding it down. I appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah,
And,
man. As soon as you left, everybody left. It was just me and Drew going solo for the whole night. Larry listening, nobody. Everybody just said, these guys suck." But anyways,
nah,
yeah,
they
that was
always
good.
have you guys' insight. You know what I mean? It's just like, boxing is a little slow right now. And there's only so much times that you can talk about Jermell and Bud and Spence without like just being like a broken record. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
boxing's pretty slow right now. It started off great. It's still going great. But like I said, there's only so much that you guys can, continue the same old
Are you
thread
playing
of
Call of Duty
conversations.
right now? You're
Yeah,
playing
no,
Call of Duty?
we're watching The Boys. You guys
Oh,
ever seen
okay.
that show?
Uh-uh.
So it's on Amazon Prime, bro. And the
Okay.
way I can describe it to you guys, it's like superheroes that aren't superheroes, but they're being promoted like they're the world's saviors.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is like, what I mean by promoted is they're horrible human beings, but when they have their own like media team and they push the narrative that they're doing heroic things so they can get paid and get like government contracts, and they essentially made $1 billion type of business basically playing heroes, but behind the scenes they're horrible human beings. So the way I look at it is almost like reality TV. It's like how Jessica Simpson or Britney Spears play on ignorant or a certain character just to get network deals and all these amazing perks, and then secretly they're fucking pretty smart, and they're like, oh yeah, we just faked this person. That's the way I look at it, just to sell like merchandise and all these beauty products. Same thing with this show, The Boys, but it's like a superhero thing. So put it to you like this. That's the way I perceive what's going on once they review the curtain. But little did we know, I don't even know if I should say this because you guys have to watch the show, but it is really good. And little do we know, it's like they're actually fabricated superheroes, meaning they created like a genome and essentially made a bunch of Captain Americas, but they had like their version of Flash, their version of Superman. And the superheroes, not all of them know. I was like, no, I thought I was born with this power, that I was, the chosen of a disciple, essentially, because they have their ego. And yeah, man, you guys just got to watch it. It's pretty good. If you guys don't have Amazon Prime, or you're like, no, I'm not going to pay for subscriptions, I'm going to give you guys a little gem right here. You tap on Google, and then you guys put fmovies.inc, like pen ink, INK, or you go to Series 9 on Google.
Bro, are you incriminating, bro? Are you self-incriminating?
You know, I'm just giving you guys gems. Like, if you guys like, oh man, I want to watch a
Bro,
movie, you know, from like old school documentaries, or you're like, man, I'm not trying to pay for that. Just type in fmovies.ink. You know what I mean? I have Amazon Prime, but I'm saying, like, if you guys don't, just
That's
fmovies.
illegal.
And then
yeah, right. Hey, listen,
I'm
listen.
just letting you guys know if you guys care.
Yo,
about
no,
it.
I get it. I get it.
Kidding.
Here, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna drop another gem on you.
Uh-oh.
Check this out. I will never watch The Boys.
Well, I mean, hey, that's
It's a
your
superhero
loss, bro.
movie. It's a superhero show. I hate superheroes, bro.
Well, it's
Like,
only
look,
three
look.
seasons. Look, I thought the same thing too. I was like, bro, I'm not gonna watch this Luke Cage. I'm not gonna watch, you know, all these shows, you know, the Loki and Jessica Jones. But little did you know, if you actually watch The Boys, man, you're gonna be like, oh, bro, this is more than just a comic book thing. This is like, you know, some Illuminati stuff.
no, yeah, but you know, here's the thing. I fix old cars, right? I have
Listen to me, bro. You know who Gene Hackman is?
Yeah,
from
he's an old
Mississippi
guy.
Burning.
He's an old guy.
And any movie that he comes out in, right, like Mississippi Burning, when he's FBI agents and all these films, Gene Hackman doesn't act on shit shows.
Because he's an old guy.
No. Same thing with like Morgan Freeman. Same thing with Alfred, you know, from Cider House Rules or the Batman, right? That Alfred. They don't come out in shit shows.
Are they great actors?
They're the best that cinema
have you ever
has
seen
been
Gene
able to make and produce.
Have you ever seen Gene Hackman tell jokes?
Yeah, probably. The rattlesnakes are committing suicide.
Oh, I've never seen that. Well,
no, that's from Mississippi Burning. It's a line. Look, what I'm basically saying is, if Gene Hackman is acting on this show, it just lets you know that this show is quality. But on that note, Speed, hey man, have a good night. Thank you for holding it down on the live, man. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Man, get out of here, bro. All right. Good night.
Good night, guys. Deuces.